Okay, the next one that we are going to take a look is reserved instance. So, and before going forward, let me tell you one story. I used to have my web server on one of the providers that they're selling hosts and domains on the internet. And after a while, I told myself, oh, that's the time to move my web server to the AWS. I did this, and after a while, I was looking at the bill and was seeing, oh my God, the bill is not that much cheap. It seems that the AWS is also expensive. And I figure out, oh, that I'm using on-demand EC2 for my web servers. Well, let me tell you one recommendation, and my recommendation is that if you are having any workload like a web server or like an Active Directory, any services that you are sure that you're gonna run it all the time 24/7, then you have to buy a reserved instance for it. So it means that you're telling AWS in advance that you want to run this workload and you want to reserve some resources for your EC2. Then AWS is going to lower their price for you. If it's on demand, then the price would be higher because AWS doesn't know when you want to stop this EC2 instance. So in a nutshell, if you are using on demand, it's under your control and you are responsible for your EC2 instance. You can start it and you can stop it at any time, and it's like electricity bill. Whenever you're using it, you have to pay for it, and AWS is technically going to charge you more. But if you're telling AWS in advance that, okay, I want to run this virtual machine for 1 year, then they're gonna give you some discounts and the price of the EC2 instance would be much lower. And but you have to make sure that you understand how the reserve instance is working. It's like a contract that you have to pay the money, whether it's upfront or whether you're paying partially. But at the end of the day, you are signing a contract and you are responsible to pay the money, whether you are running your EC2 instance or you are not running your EC2 instance. So this is another purchase method beyond the on-demand. This is the reserve instance, and in the next one I'll show you the spot request. So let's jump to the console and see how this method is working. So reserve instance, we are going to the console, same location. It's going to be in compute EC2, and now so in the EC2 dashboard, I'm going to the left side, and here we have reserved instance. If I click on this one, there is a purchase reserve instance button here. I'm going to click on this one, and technically you can use your platform. As you can see, there are Linuxes and Windowses here. You can select your platform you want to use. For example, I'm going to select Linux. Your instance type, so whatever is your type, you can choose that one. I stick to the T2 micro, and you can choose your tenancy. It has default and it has the dedicated. Default, it means the shared resources. Your EC2 is running on the shared resources. Dedicated, you have to pay definitely more because it's gonna assign your EC2 instances on a dedicated resource. In terms of term, right now, as you can see, we have two options. I would suggest that you should stick to the first one because after a while, it seems that AWS is they're going to lower their prices. So it's not a good idea to go to the 36 months. I would suggest to select 12 months. It's like you are going to a provider, someone that is selling hosts and domains, and you want to buy and you want to run your web server for 1 year, and you're paying your money up front, right? So it's the same idea here. So you can say, okay, I want this EC2 instance for 1 year. I'm paying it, and we have options for payment. You will see this, but if you pay upfront, that will be cheaper. And then this is yours actually. You can you pay the money and you can run your EC2 instances free of charge if you have this contract. Otherwise, if you don't have this one, then that's going to be on demand and you have to pay for that one. I'm going to select, for example, the 12 months. This is just a search. We have to search and we have to see what kind of options do we have. Offering class, we have two options also here. We have convertible and we have standard. I've seen lots of people, they have questions related to the differences between the convertible and standard. I opened the AWS documentation here, and there's a very good comparison between the standard and the convertible. They are almost the same at the very beginning, but in the middle we have some differences. In the standard format, you can modify technically your AZ, your availability zones, your scope, and your network platform, and your instance size. So you can actually change these ones, and the AWS is going to adjust for you. On the right side, we can exchange one or more convertible reserved instances for another convertible reserve instances. But there is another difference at the end, and that one is if this is standard, you can sell it back in the AWS, but for the convertible, you cannot sell it. So let's say you sign a contract for 1 year with the AWS, and after a while, you don't want that EC2 instance anymore, and you want to get rid of the contract. It's like, and now you want to put back your contract inside AWS, and some people will buy it and they will pay your money. It's gonna be something like I don't know, maybe lease takeover when you're leasing a car. But I'll show you. We probably see when we are searching some people that they're trying to sell their instances inside the AWS. Anyway, I'm going back to my console. This is just a search. I select this one, and the payment option. If you go with the all upfront, that would be the cheapest price that you can get from the AWS, and you're saying and this EC2 instance is for me for 1 year, so they're gonna offer you technically less price. If you want to go with the other options, technically it's like an installments and you have to pay more at the end of it. I choose any here to see what kind of options we have, and click on search. The sellers, third party, it means someone bought the reserve instance and now they want to sell it on the AWS market, and you see that they are standard. But anyway, so you can see the prices, the effective rates, the upfront prices that you need to pay, and the hourly rate are much cheaper than the on-demand one. And don't forget this, if you have any workload that you want to run it 24/7, I'm going to emphasize this again, buy a reserve instance for it upfront. That's gonna be cheaper. You're gonna save a lot of money. I've seen companies that they have domain controllers running. Let's say they have a branch office and they spin up a domain controller for that branch, or they spin up a print server, or they spin up a read-only domain controller, I don't know, or maybe a web server, and they're using on demand, and that EC2 instance is running forever. If it's running forever, it doesn't make sense. Just buy a reserve instance for it and you're gonna pay a much less amount of money. So as a matter of fact, here I'm going to go with the all upfront, and I search again, and technically I just have two options here, one for standard, one for convertible, and I'll stick with the standard one. And you can see for 12 months the effective rate is much cheaper than the on-demand one, and the upfront money that you need to pay is just $59, which is pretty less than on-demand EC2 instance. If you run the on-demand EC2 instance for 1 month, you're gonna get a bill much more than this number. And you can easily just click add to cart, go to view your cart, and click purchase. So I'm not going to select purchase. If I click on purchase here, then AWS is going to charge my credit card right now $59, and then nothing actually will happen. So you're not seeing anything here. There's no instance running here. Technically, you're just buying the contract for 1 year for that EC2 instance. For example, we selected T2 mic. In this case, if you're running any T2 instances here, then you're not getting charged for it because you already pay upfront and you have the contract in your billing dashboard. Make sure that you know what you're doing. And reserve instances are pretty useful in case that you have a workload that you want to run it for let's say 1 year. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.